What's up everybody, another beautiful day in the Dragon Isles, and today we'll be taking a look at Mythic Raszageth as an Enhancement Shaman, going over what builds to play, tips and tricks, and where to get that elusive pad from, and how to stay alive. Now this is primarily from a Mythic rating perspective, but most of this translates to Heroic/Normal as well. Let me know what you think of this type of guides. Would you like more stuff like this for future raids? Let me know in the comments. So, good old Raszageth. For this fight you can play either Phys Gamba or the Elementalist build. I'd argue Elementalist is better for a progression standpoint, as it is way more consistent in boss damage, not to mention add damage during first and second intermission, which is mainly why I swapped from Gamba to Elementalist. We struggle a bit with getting all adds down in time during first intermission, and the Gamba build can do insane add damage if you happen to get a ton of Ascendancy procs when the adds spawn, which does not always happen. They still do great single target damage during intermission, but if it's AoE you need, Elementalist is for sure the way to go. But you can have like 1 or 2 pure single target builds on Mythic Rasa, just not more. But if you're rocking like say an Arms Warrior, well then it's better you go Elementalist. Now regardless of which build you play, I recommend removing a talent in favor of getting Feral Lunge. So for example, the standard Elementalist build without either Wind Fury or Swirling Maelstrom and Feral Lunge instead. Now I played without Wind Fury and with a Howling or Buzzing Rune instead on my main hand. A little bit of Trinket info: if you have a 2-minute Trinket that isn't Grief Torch like me, I'm running a Wind Scar Whetstone here, since I happen to have it in 421 over my 411 Grief Torch. So if you're using that, you need to instantly pop it as your very first global on pull, and instantly as it comes off cooldown. That way it will come back during the second add pack during first intermission. However, had I run Grief Torch, I would not use it again after the third knockback in phase 1. As Grief Torch you really want to use on the second Zealot on blue side, which is the side most Enhancement Shamans go to due to Ancestral Guidance. And the reason you want to save Grief Torch for the second add pack is because you need to delete the second Zealot. And my Whetstone doesn't make a huge difference on it. It doesn't matter if I have it up for its full duration. But Grief Torch does, since it helps you greatly in deleting said Zealot. So my opener here is on pull, Feral Spirits and Trinket into Primordial Wave, Lightning Bolt, Ice Strike, Storm Strike, Frost Shock, and if you aren't capped on Maelstrom, Lava Lash and Sundering into Elemental Blast and standard rotation. And then I try to squeeze in a second Elemental Blast before my first Wolfies are out, even if I have to throw it with only 5 stacks. And I mean the same is true for all Wolfies. I try to get out 2 Elemental Blasts for every Wolf. Now during Sparks in phase 1 we are Purge bots, if/when it's needed, as we can clear a massive amount of sparks. Always Stun Totem when it's available, Thunderstorm Interrupt, and purge. And if it's for progression, then skip your damage during sparks, just every global purge, until all other players have gotten used to sparks, and then you can pull back on purging. Now for the phase 1 pushbacks, if you play Feral Lunge, you use it on all of them, but there's a few things you can do to min-max this a bit. So the first one, due to the pushback nerf, you can actually either not run against the pushback and Feral Lunge as soon as you're able, or run with the pushback and press Feral Lunge. Now if you run against it, you actually lose a little bit of uptime, since the first pushback is super slow now. For the second pushback, same thing, but I Spirit Walk during the pushback or right as it ends, so I can get to my spark location fast. One thing you can do though that is a bit dicey is during the pushback, as soon as you're able to press Feral Lunge, you wait a little bit, like half a second, and then you press Feral Lunge. Because if you Feral Lunge at the very max range of it, you will stop right under boss and you'll be perfectly located for sparks. However, if you miss to press it in time and you're out of range, you're screwed. So a bit of a gamble. Now for the third pushback, same as second, but I try to get pushed slightly to the side while I'm in Ghost Wolf. Makes it easier to dodge the breath or to see where it's going, but that's right at the end of the pushback. For the fourth one, I usually use Gateway, so I first get pushbacked and Feral Lunge, then I can spend about 2 globals on abilities, as you're able to use one after your Feral Lunge into boss and a second one as you're getting pushbacked again. And then you simply get pushbacked all the way to the Gateway, and when you reach it, Gateway back as you reach the Gateway and sidestep the breath fast. You can do this with just Feral Lunge and running, but you do lose a lot of uptime here if you don't add in the Gateway. And then it's time for intermission. So you want to make sure to end phase 1 with full Maelstrom and less than 40 seconds on Feral Spirits. That way during the first add pack you're able to Feral Spirits into Elemental Blast, Ice Strikes on the big add, and then instantly Frost Shock Slap all all the adds as they spawn. Follow that by Primordial Wave on whichever target you're nuking down. Lava Lash spread into Lightning Bolt into Sundering, Ice Strike, and new Frost Shock Slap. Unless you're using Sundering as crowd control. But if you follow that opener, you will do some crazy amount of burst damage. So yeah, make sure to have close to 10 Maelstrom and Wolfies ready for first intermission ad pack. Starting off with that Frost Shock Slap when all the ads spawns makes a huge difference. Keep in mind though, as you land at the first ruiner, make sure you don't Lava Lash the big ad before the small ad spawns, unless you have Hot Hand proc, or you won't have Lava Lash when the ad spawns, and you will feel very sad. Now following this, just AoE down the pack, don't get slapped by breath. We have a crazy amount of stops for the casters via Stun Totem, Sundering, Thunderstorm. Most of this is usually assigned to some degree, but they're great to use as AoE stops, especially the Thunderstorm knockup. Now when the first ad pack is about to die, I try to save my Maelstrom for the second pack where we need to burst down the Zealot super fast in order to avoid the healing absorb. So I Feral Lunge the big ad, Flame Shock it, pop new Wind Fury Totem, Ice Strike, and pop Wolfies. And as soon as the Zealot spawns, I Elemental Blast it into Frost Shock, and then it's pretty much your standard AoE slapping, as the Zealot needs to be dead around that time anyways. I also squeeze in a Stun Totem in the middle of that as I'm assigned to do that. And I usually Thunderstorm the casters if there's a breath after my Stun Totem so they don't cast anything while we dodge it. Now if you have things like Solar Beam assigned there, then don't Thunderstorm as they won't be able to move during it. For the third ad pack, pretty much same as first. If you can open with a fully empowered Frost Shock, that's great. After that, I usually set up Primordial Wave, so Lava Lash spread Flame Shock. However, I don't Lightning Bolt until after the healing absorb hits us, and I Ancestral Guidance here. Some Enhancement Shamans do it on first ad pack, some do it on third. Depends on your healing cooldown rotations. But by combining Ancestral Guidance with the 6 times Lightning Bolt, fully empowered Frost Shock Slap, and a Sundering, that's a lot of healing into those healing absorbs. Now shortly after phase 2 starts, you get your first absorb on boss that you need to nuke the ever-living out of. So as you're waiting for the absorb, get Wind Fury Totem down, Flame Shock, Lava Lash, and Ice Strike, but don't spend Maelstrom unless you're sure you'll be able to cap Maelstrom again before the absorb goes up. Then you want to pop Wolfies in second combat pot right before the absorb. When the marks go out and I have a partner with my mark, I Elemental Blast into Frost Shock, Primordial Wave Lightning Bolt into another Frost Shock, and then I try to squeeze out another 10 stacked Elemental Blast during the absorbs and my Wolfies. However, if the absorb is about to be depleted or your Wolfies are about to go away, you can throw away a 5 stacked Elemental Blast. Just make sure to Elemental Blast. Now following this, hold your next Primordial Wave for the second absorb. You can pop at least 1 pair of Feral Spirits between first and second shield, but after that you want to hold them a bit to make sure they're up for the second absorb. It is worth it. Now I usually Ancestral Guidance this one or the third absorb, and I do the same as on the first shield, but I also pop my Trinket and Racial on the second one. So Elemental Blast into Frost Shock, Primordial Wave, Lightning Bolt, Frost Shock, and hopefully Hot Hand procs, and we can just mash out Lava Lashes. Now if procs are with you and you line up stuff properly, we have an ungodly amount of burst for the shields, like it's ridiculous. So with Ancestral Guidance, we heal a lot. I've healed well over 2 million with Ancestral Guidance on that absorb phase alone. Following this, between absorb number 2 and 3 is the same as between first and second, so hold next Primordial Wave for the last absorb and pop 1 set of Wolfies in between, and you do the absorb the same as before. Now other than that, I Feral Lunge most of the Tempest Wing pushbacks, so when boss starts casting or just a little before, I run back and I Feral Lunge as soon as the cast starts, and you'll just swoosh through taking minimal damage. The second Tempest Wing you need to run out a little bit earlier as lunge cooldown doesn't align perfectly here. So just run a second earlier and lunge back when cast starts. Third Tempest Wing is right after second spark, and you can either run through it or run back a bit and Feral Lunge over it. Regardless, the fourth is too soon after third, so you won't have lunge back for that. So you either Feral Lunge third or fourth, but you have to run through one of them. Now I usually lunge third and Ghost Wolf Spirit Walk the fourth one. For the sparks in phase 2, they work like phase 1. However, people tend to be way less stacked here, so odds are you'll have to purge more. So go all in purge bot mode. I must purge. Use your stuns, Thunderstorm, Sundering, etc. I recommend stunning first and the third set of sparks, as you cannot stun both second and third set of sparks. And you do this because the third set overlaps with absorbs, where everyone has to spread, so there's a higher chance of someone messing up a spark crowd control, so it's better to have more more AoE crowd control on the third one. And then it's time for second intermission. So here you want to slap the big add to the left. I pop Wind Fury Totem between this add and the middle, so we'll have it when we're smacking small adds in the middle. When the add starts spewing balls, I pop Wind Rush as we'll get a breath shortly after, so go movement speed. You want to use Wolfies on the big add, but hold Primordial Wave when it comes off cooldown. And as soon as the small adds spawn, start spreading Flame Shock and set up your Primordial Wave. Do not Frost Shock these until they're stacked in the middle. I repeat, do not Frost Shock, because if you slow them, you will make those Frost Shock targets delayed to get into the middle and you will mess everything up. And then you just Lightning Bolt Frost Shock into Sundering, and after that I usually run back to the big add and start smacking it down. Mainly because it's just more efficient to have other classes finish off tons of low B health mobs, and big add damage is still important. And since we've already done our Primordial Waves, Sundering and all that stuff, we really don't have a ton of AoE for the next few seconds, so smack the big add instead. But I mean, if you can squeeze out another Spender and another Frost Shock slap on the small adds, go for it. Pad! Now after this, nuke whichever add you're assigned to. I go off on a side mission here to get to the range add, as it has more health than the melee one, and you want them to die at the same time. I also Ancestral Guidance here as well, and then we move on to the last phase. So there's actually not a ton of big brain enhancement tech here. Most of it is slap dragon, follow tactics. Now for the Tempest Wing pushback, you can feral lunge either first and second or first and third. If you lunge the third one, you will need to run out into the storm for 1 or 2 ticks and get 1 or 2 stacks of the dot, but you take no damage from the Tempest Wing instead. But what I do is pretty much on the first one, you get gripped into the middle, and then I run out feral lunge through, and the same thing on the second one. The third one, I just Ghost Wolf, Spirit Walk and run through. And if possible, you should try to have some Maelstrom saved up for each Tempest Wing, so if you get low, you can instantly heal yourself, as those overlaps can be quite dicey. Defensives, health stones, etc. if you need it. And yeah, that's pretty much it for Raszageth Enhancement Raid Guide. Hope it helps you all out. If there's other things you would have liked in this guide or for future raid guides, please let me know in the comments. Now for my UI, I will link my default UI code that you can import in edit mode in game, as well as most of the main Weakauras I use for enhancement. I can't share all of my Weakauras nor my player settings, as I've gotten them from subbing to now on Twitch. But yeah, let me know what you think of this enhancement guide and if you'd like to see more of it. If you have any questions, hit me up here or become a patron or Twitch sub and get access to the Stankie Gaming Discord, which is the fastest way to get a hold of me, and it's also filled with a lot of useful info and helpful people. Don't forget the usual stuff, like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, ring that notification bell. It really helps me out. I'm also streaming all my progression rating on Twitch, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays, Stankie Gaming, and yeah. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time in Aberrus the Shadowed Crucible.